Jane, can you hear me? Jane. Make them feel good, Wayne.
Okay, at this time, I'll call to order the Tuesday, February the 2nd, 2021 meeting of the Iredell County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I'd ask you to please bow your head in silent prayer for our nation, our state, and our communities as we deal with COVID and the other challenges that are set before us. For the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Jones, would you please run through the adjustments to the agenda?
Thank you, Chairman Mallory. We have 3 adjustments. The first item is removal of administrative item 8.7, and that will come back for our agenda on February the 16th. The next item is addition under announcements of vacancies occurring on boards and commissions, and that's to add the announcement regarding a Troutman Board of Adjustment ETJ member. And the final item is the addition of a new business item, which is a COVID-19 update by Chairman Mallory.
Okay, before we move on to the motion to approve the agenda, I'll note for the record that Commissioner Marvin Norman is joining us remotely. And when we are having a vote, then there's about an 8-second delay between the time we call for the vote, and he gets, it comes up on the television, and then he responds. So we have this 8-minute pregnant pause for a little while, so it's by necessity. So I'll ask if there is a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Brown. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
We are unanimous in approving the agenda. Okay, we have 2 special awards to give this evening. Our Iredell County Public Library has won 2 awards from the North Carolina Public Library Directors Association, and for a medium-sized library. And out of a large group of libraries, that's an impressive accomplishment. And I'd like for Julie Moore, if she could come up as our director, if you'll just come up to the podium initially. And if you could just share with everyone a little bit of the details on the award for the Express Books program and the award for the Staff Professional Development Curriculum.
Sure. Express Books is a program that we had been working on implementing, but due to COVID, it actually happened a little faster. So Express Books is basically reader's advisory for busy people. And while we were providing limited services, we were able to establish this program where patrons could fill out a request form online, letting us know their reading likes, what their favorite book was, what nonfiction topic they may like to have. And then we would select the items for them, check them out to them, and all they would have to do during our patron pickup time was come up to the library and give us their name and grab their books and go. So since March, when we implemented the program, we have filled 668 Express Book orders to date. So it's been a very popular program with our patrons, and our staff enjoyed having that interaction, even from a distance, to be able to assist patrons, because that's why they're there. So that's a little bit about Express Books.
You know, it's, you tend to think of the library as, you know, like a museum. It never changes, you know. You just think it's there, and gosh, how could they do anything to keep up with the times in a information age economy where you have so much access to internet content. And it's amazing the kind of programs that they have devised to leverage technology and to leverage other resources that the state has through the Cardinal system to make the library a extremely important component of our quality of life. And their programs are much in demand. And so it just shows that you can continue to exist and thrive even when the rules of the game are changing, and that's what we have to do. And so I want to thank your staff for working as hard as they do to provide services to our citizens. And the staff professional development curriculum, could you talk a little bit about that?
For the past several years, one of our strategic goals has been for staff to obtain 40 hours of professional development each fiscal year. Well, we worked up to 40 hours. Once we attained that goal, I really wanted to have a curriculum created that would be meaningful, where people weren't just doing professional development to check a box, but doing something that was meaningful and pertained to their position. So we created a committee of 3 people who were tasked with designing the curriculum. They did an amazing job. They based the curriculum off of the county's annual evaluation form. So they divided the curriculum into those 8 categories. And then they also broke it down by department and by job. So you have a section for youth services. You have a section for information services, administration and management. So everybody can go to this living document and find something that pertains to their current position. And then when you hire new people in, you have a good starting point for them to go find meaningful professional development. We also created a way to track the development. Marty Durham, our information services manager, has been graciously tracking staff's hours for the past several years. But what we did was we created a form through Civic where when you completed a training, you submitted the training, the length of time, whether it should be added to the curriculum, whether it was or not, because maybe it wasn't worth anybody else's time, your comments about it. And so that way, Amanda Kane can update the document in real time as we find better options to replace or add to our current training. So up to date, the curriculum, thanks to COVID, it was on our strategic plan. We got to work on it a little earlier in the spring, and it went live July 1st. And to date, when I checked the log, 34 staff members have completed 926 hours of professional development since July 1st when it went into effect. So they're really taking opportunities to advance themselves and learn more about their profession and their job.
Well, that's so important because not only are they effective and efficient, you know, when they have folks that come in and are looking for some tidbit of information, you know, they're going to be better able to respond and be able to point them in the right direction. So, and I do want to, I've got these 2 certificates to present this evening, and we'll bring you up, and I think you may have some staff. Is Amanda Kane here? And Marty Durham, okay, and Taylor Kaiser, Jenny Levens. Okay, everybody's here. So why don't you all come on up? And what we'll do is we'll all get up here and take a picture. And I think probably some of you have worked closely with the Express program and others with the curriculum development. So I'll give those to the appropriate parties. And let me ask, is there anybody from Friends of the Library here? I'm not sure. They're a great partner with the county in terms of being able to provide services. So if, commissioners, if y'all want to tighten it up.
Behind here? Oh, so we're behind here.
Okay, well, 2 of you get over here and 2 of you get over there. There we go. Let's see. Who's working with Express Books?
Jenny.
Jenny? Okay. What you call that? And who is working with the curriculum?
There's 3 of us.
All three. Okay, well, let's do this. You 2 switch. Now we've got it. You have that right in the middle. And we got everybody squared away? Good. Congratulations. Good job.
Chairman Mallory, I had one thing to say to this group. In a task force a couple of weeks ago, I met with some of these people, this young lady here, and I was one of these people that thought the library was just a library. And after meeting with them for, I don't know, 30 minutes or an hour, they changed my tune big time. What they have done during COVID is unbelievable because, you know, a lot of us take for granted of what we've got at our homes and what some of these kids don't have at their homes. And for what they've reached out and done, it's unbelievable. So you've really changed my tune. So I appreciate what you've done. Thank you.
Yeah, just to follow up on Commissioner Brown's remarks, when we initially were hit with school closings and we were trying to react to that and shifting, the schools were able to shift pretty quickly to remote instructional learning. But a lot of folks in the county live in sort of internet dead zones. And that's a problem throughout North Carolina, that the legislature and the federal government are going to be putting some dollars on to try to address. But what the libraries at all their locations did was open the doors, rededicate staff and space to be able to make terminals, computers available to students who were able to then keep up with their studies. So it was, they stood in the gap, and a lot of libraries closed down in the state, and our libraries continue to march. So just a great job. And thank you, Julie, and your entire staff. Okay, we have no planned appointments before the board this evening. Item 7 of our agenda, we have 2 public hearings. The first is a public hearing to consider a request from applicants Lee and Amanda Levandowski, representing Charlotte Ski Boats, to rezone approximately 2 acres along Beech Tree Road, which is very close to Brawley School Road. And Mr. Matthew Todd will tee this up.
Good evening to the board.
Good evening.
The first request we have before us tonight is the rezoning off Brawley School Road. You can see the property outlined in blue on the screen. Property is currently zoned residential agriculture with the front portion already zoned neighborhood business. The applicants are requesting to rezone to Highway Business Conditional District. The conditions placed on the property are fairly limited, specifically for boat sales, storage, repair, and motorcycle ATV service and repair. The conditions actually match the property to the south or west that is also shown on the map as HBCD. It's the same owners as this request. Staff does support this request because it does match the 2030 Horizon Plan. Property is surrounded by various existing commercial uses. The conditions of the request are consistent with the surroundings, and the property will no longer be split zoned. This is the 2030 Horizon map showing the parcel within the corridor commercial designation. This is an aerial of the property. There's an existing abandoned house on the property at this time. A few pictures of the property. That's looking across the Bloom Road area, back toward the intersection at Brawley School Road, and then south on Brawley School Road. Planning Board did vote unanimously to support this request, and we have heard no opposition regarding it. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Todd? There are none. And I will open the public hearing. And there was no one that was signed up specifically to be heard. I would inquire of anybody in attendance if they'd like to be heard. Hearing and seeing none, close the public hearing. We will not be able to vote on the approval of this request this evening because of COVID restrictions. If we have anyone that is appearing remotely, then an additional 24 hours has to be allowed for any kind of public comment. So the public comment period will be extended for another 24 hours, and people can either call into the county or send an email. And then after that period, we will be able to vote. Realistically, that vote will take place on our next commissioner meeting 2 weeks from now. And so we will table this matter until the following, or till the next meeting.
16th.
The 16th of February for a vote. Okay. All right, our second item.
Okay, the second request we have before us tonight is again outlined on blue on the screen. It's on 901. The property is currently zoned residential agricultural, and the request is to rezone to straight general business. Staff as well supports this request as the 2030 Horizon Plan identifies it as interchange commercial. The property is actually surrounded by existing general business uses. Traffic impact should not exceed road capacity. This is the 2030 Horizon Plan showing that the property is within the interchange commercial designation. This aerial shows a single wide mobile home sitting on the property that has since been removed. And some of you may remember that within the last few months, this property in this area was rezoned from residential agriculture to general business. Site looking at the property. Site looking across the road. Site looking back toward the interstate. And then looking west on 901. Again, planning board voted unanimously to support this request, and there was no opposition. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Todd? Hearing none, I'll open this public hearing. There is no one that has signed up to be heard. I would inquire if anyone present would like to be heard. Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public hearing. And as in the previous matter, we will not be able to take a vote this evening. That will be deferred until February the 16th pursuant to North Carolina state rules to allow an extra 24 hours of public comment. Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to administrative matters that are appropriate for our consent agenda. And these matters are usually technical in nature. We hear them at our 5 o'clock pre-agenda meeting, which is in this same chambers. And the meeting is televised, as well as people are certainly encouraged to hear these presentations. But we'll resolve most of these with a couple of exceptions through our consent agenda process. So, Ms. Jones, if you'll please tee these up.
Thank you, Chairman Mallory. The first item was a request from the Sheriff's Office for approval of Budget Amendment Number 36 in the amount of $396,550 to purchase a new Lake Patrol boat for using federal equity sharing funds. And again, those are no taxpayers' dollars in those funds. The second item is a request from the Health Department for approval of Budget Amendment Number 33 for COVID-19 vaccination program funding in the amount of $65,922. There is a request from the Health Department for approval of Budget Amendment Number 34 for epidemiology and laboratory capacity enhancing detection activities grant in the amount of $140,798. There was a request from Tax Administration to report on unpaid taxes that are liens on real property and set the advertising date. The current amount of unpaid taxes is around $6,176,000, and the advertising date is set for March the 17th, 2021. There was a request from the Finance Department for approval of Budget Amendment Number 35 for the Governor's Crime Commission grant in the amount of $23,961. And those are all the items that were reviewed under the consent agenda.
Is there any further discussion? Is there a motion?
I'd like to make that motion.
Motion by Vice Chairman Nieder to approve our consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are unanimous. Consent agenda is approved. Item 8.5.
That item is a request from Finance Department for approval to adopt a resolution directing the filing of an application with the Local Government Commission for the installment financing agreement for school improvements and to call for a public hearing on February the 16th, 2021. And Ms. Deb Cheek is here to make this request. Ms. Cheek?
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. We are starting the process to be able to apply for installment financing for the Iredell Statesville school systems. And the first item that we need to take care of is a resolution. I would ask that Chairman Mallory please introduce that resolution.
This is a resolution directing the filing of an application with the North Carolina Local Government Commission of an installment financing agreement to finance school improvements and make certain findings, calling a public hearing in connection with the agreement, and the transfer of a public school to the county for use as security for the county's obligations under the agreement, and declaring the county's intent to reimburse certain expenditures from funds borrowed under the agreement.
Thank you. To expound on that just a bit, this is for the acquisition and installment of certain energy conservation measures, including but not limited to LED lighting, acquisition and installment of certain HVAC improvements, including but not limited to HVAC control upgrades, and the acquisition and installation of various indoor air quality upgrades. We are also recognizing that the school board has determined to convey the site of the Career Academy Technical School in Troutman, North Carolina, to be collateral for the project. A public hearing on this agreement and the proposed conveyance of the school site by the school board to the county is required, and we're asking and calling for that public hearing on our next meeting, February 16th at 7 p.m. And we're also expressing our intent to reimburse expenditures with proceeds of the tax-exempt debt prior to or within 60 days of payment of the expenditures to be reimbursed, and the school board intends to advance their own funds in order to pay certain capital costs relating to the project. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Ms. Cheek? Okay, is there a motion?
Chairman, thank you for your work on all this. I'd like to make a motion to approve this resolution directing the filing of an application with the North Carolina Local Government Commission of an installment financing agreement to finance school improvements and making certain findings, calling a public hearing in connection with the agreement, and transfer of public school to the county for use as security for the county's obligations under this agreement, and declaring the county's intent to reimburse certain expenditures from funds borrowed under this agreement.
Motion by Commissioner Haupt. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. We are unanimous. This basically is the first official step to engage the financing piece for the requested $8.8 million loan to be able to replace some air purification systems, LED lighting, and some control systems for the schools. And based on the presentations that we've had 2 weeks ago, as well as some presentations and a lot of discussion, this is a project that will, in effect, pay for itself over time. They look to be able to pay this back within 5 years and potentially as short a time as 3 years, depending on the amount of savings and the amount of lottery proceeds that are received by the schools. So it's a well thought out business plan and has met a number of different concerns that we had from the initial plan. And so we are happy to be able to support the schools in this endeavor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cheek, for y'all's sharp pencil work.
The final item on the agenda under administrative items is item 8.8, and that is appointment of replacement to fulfill the unexpired term of former Register of Deeds Ron Wyatt. There is a letter from the chairman of the Republican Party in your packet, and the board met on January the 25th, 2021, and voted, and they are recommending Maureen Purcell to fill that unexpired term.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jones. The Register of Deeds job that was held by Ron Wyatt, otherwise known as Duck Wyatt, has been vacated in early January, where he is now serving as the town manager for the town of Troutman. And as Ms. Jones has mentioned, the Iredell County Republican Executive Committee has met within the prescribed time and provided a recommendation of Maureen Purcell to fill this position. And I would like to quote from the North Carolina General Statute to make sure everyone understands the process here. According to North Carolina General Statute 161-5, when a vacancy occurs from any cause in the office of the Register of Deeds, the Board of Commissioners shall fill such vacancy by the appointment of a successor for the unexpired term who shall qualify and give bond as required by law. If the Register of Deeds was elected as the nominee of a political party, the Board of Commissioners shall consult the County Executive Committee of that political party before filling the vacancy and shall appoint the person recommended by that committee if the party makes a recommendation within 30 days of the occurrence of the vacancy. We received the notice within that 30-day period of the County Executive Board's nomination of Maureen Purcell. And so we are now proceeding to fulfill our statutory obligation. Is there any other comment, or is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, with the executive committee having made that nomination per statute within 30 days, I'd like to make the motion that we appoint Maureen P. Purcell to finish out the unexpired term of Ronald Wyatt.
Motion by Commissioner Hout. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. We want to extend our congratulations to Ms. Purcell and wish her the very best of luck in her capacity as the Register of Deeds. The process as we go forward, she will be sworn in at such time as the seals that are required in order to officially validate documents are produced and available to the staff. And when that happens, then she will be sworn in, hopefully this week, probably by Judge Crosswhite, but we don't know. But one of the court personnel will go ahead and swear her in. So she should be on the job pretty soon. And we will have a salary discussion in closed session and report that out after the closed session deliberations. Okay, we now move on to item 9 on the agenda, which is announcement of vacancies occurring on boards and commissions. We have one announcement of a vacancy for the Child Fatality Prevention Team and one announcement for the Troutman Board of Adjustment as an ETJ, or extraterritorial jurisdiction representative. We will look to receive any interested applicants that are interested can fill out an application and return that to our staff. You can find that information on the county website, and we will evaluate candidates that are provided at our next meeting. Now move on to appointments to boards and commissions, and we won't have any until next meeting. Unfinished business. There is no public comment period. New business. I'd like to go over just a few data points on COVID to give people an update on what's happening in the county. And I think the best way to do that is just to show you a few slides. This is a slide depicting the daily cumulative case count for the last month, basically 12/21 through 1/31. And it just has a breakout, but it shows that we have, in the last month at least, a rather steady rise of a number of new cases from roughly 175 a day to almost 260 a day over that time period, just as an average. Next slide. Now, this is the slide that we don't like to talk about, because this is folks that have died as a result of COVID. You don't see a slide that looks anything like this for the flu, We have had, to date, 178 Iredell County residents die from this virus, which is a high number. And if you look at the progression of that graph, which starts from the months in April, you can see that the vast majority of deaths have occurred basically in the December, January timeframe. Death is a lagging indicator. In other words, as soon as somebody's, when we get positive tests, about a week later, you start to see a rise in hospitalizations for those that are having a severe case and severe reactions. And then anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks after that, typically, you'll see a number of folks that have passed as a result. So the folks that are passing now really were a result of December infections. So next slide. The precursor to most people passing is a trip to the hospital. And we've talked about how our hospital capacity has been under a great deal of stress. If you look at this graph, back in July time period when we had our first surge, the weekly average of hospitalizations was 29. Our hospitals were able to accommodate that. We have 3 high-quality hospitals. They had enough beds to accommodate that without significantly overtaxing their ability to provide other services. The hospitalization rate went down. It tends to follow holiday events. So our first one that kicked up was after Memorial Day. Then after the 4th of July, you saw a similar increase. Then it slid down, and then, we had a slight bump up there, but it was continuing to go down to almost a little less than 10 hospitalizations, which was pretty darn good. And then we had Halloween and the fall festivals, and it just jumped up to the same number we had back in July. Then we had Thanksgiving, and it doubled to over 60 average. And then we had Christmas and New Year's, and up to 72. And I can tell you, the hospitals were struggling. They ran out of beds in ICUs, had to convert rooms to ICUs, and that puts a tremendous strain on, it's not just the real estate that you're staying in, but the staff that is helping those patients. So we were very concerned when we were up at this high point. Since then, we've dropped down to a still high, but at least manageable 53, and we hope that it will continue to go lower. The good news is that we have vaccines that are being administered now, Pfizer product at Iredell Health Systems, and then the Moderna vaccine at Lake Norman, Davis, and our Iredell County Health Department, as well as the CVS and Walgreens that we're inoculating our nursing home and congregate care facility patients and staff. We are looking to, as Ms. Jones will outline in her county manager's report, a little bit about that process of how we're getting these vaccines. And we will have a more full report to you on vaccines 2 weeks from now, when we will have had the benefit of an epidemiologist working with our health department to really analyze how much of our population has been inoculated and where we have areas that are underserved that we need to place special attention on in terms of getting the vaccine out to those folks. But to date, we've inoculated over 12,000 Iredell County residents, at least with the first shot, and this is a 2-shot process. So that is a pretty good number. If you look at the total number of probably, just this is a swag, but we probably have 8 to 10% of the population inoculated that's over the age of 18. And most of this, the bulk of it, is either healthcare providers or they are over the age of 65. So the focus has been on the most vulnerable population, because the ones that are hospitalized and that are passing are generally older. But while that's a general rule, it's not, there are exceptions to that rule. And that's what's so sort of disturbing about this virus, is that it is random in its effects. And it is literally like playing Russian roulette. I mean, chances are it's not going to be fatal or you're going to be hospitalized, but you just never know until that trigger gets pulled. And you have the ability to avoid pulling the trigger at all if you practice the 3 W's. You wear a mask, you socially distance, and you wash your hands. And we're going to have to continue to do those things. Those are a shield against this virus, those practices. If you get the vaccine, you now sort of like you have a spear. You've got an internal defense system that goes on the offense against this virus, which you don't have without that vaccine. But, having the shield and the spear is what any ancient soldier would have wanted. Just having the shield is not a really good way to go into battle. Just having the spear is not a really good way to go into battle. You need both. So everyone's in this battle themselves and needs to be appropriately outfitted with your shield and your spear. So we're dedicated, our health department personnel, our nurses, all of our healthcare providers, everyone in Iredell County has been putting their shoulder to the wheel and has really produced tremendous results. We've used all the vaccines that have been provided to us, and I think even Commissioner Haupt was a recent meeting of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and Iredell County was mentioned specifically as being one that had been able to get more jabs in people's arms than other counties in terms of utilizing what had been given to us. So we need to just double down on this, and everyone needs to take it seriously for the sake of not only themselves, but their family members, your coworkers, and our community writ large. So anybody have anything else they'd like to add? Well, thank you very much. And the county manager's report.
Thank you, Chairman Mallory. Just to dovetail on your comments regarding COVID, currently, as of today, we have 14,309 positive cases in the county. We have 51 in the hospital, and unfortunately, 178 deaths. To date, Iredell County Health Department has administered 3,233 first doses and 865 second doses. As you mentioned before, there are 4 providers in the county the health department and our 3 hospitals, Iredell Memorial, Lake Norman Regional, and Davis Hospital, that are receiving vaccines and are administering those vaccines. So collectively, all 4 entities have given 12,447 first doses and 2,581 second doses. We have been very successful in getting those vaccines to our public as quickly as possible. That is one of the reasons that we're continuing to receive dose allotments from the state. Some areas that have not been as successful of getting those doses out to the public, their shipments have been decreased, but we've been very fortunate that we're continuing to receive shipments. The state has changed how they're sending allocations. One of the things that the providers and the counties were asking for is it's difficult to plan a clinic when you don't know how many doses you're going to get. You don't know to schedule 1 clinic or 2 clinics or 3 clinics because it really is indicative on the number of doses that you get, and we get a shipment once a week. So what the state has worked with us to do is give us a minimum guarantee for the next 3 weeks regarding how many doses we'll receive. And they have done that. But then what they have also gone back and done is they have said, once we give you your minimum guarantee of your dose allotment for the next 3 weeks, what we're also going to go back and do is look and see what your success rate is regarding how you're administering those vaccines, and are you administering all the doses that you're receiving before you get another shipment, which we have done, and we've been very successful since the very beginning of doing that. They're also going back and looking at our population, our number, sheer volume of citizens in our county, and then they're looking at the demographics of that population, the number of marginalized population that we have in Iredell County, those underserved, things of that nature, and they're giving us an additional allocation. So we've been very fortunate that, and that is an uncertain number. That's a dependent number. So we get our minimum guarantee, and then we get an additional allocation. We were fortunate this week that our additional allocation was actually more than our minimum guarantee. So we're thrilled that we're going to have a good quantity of vaccines to administer at our clinic, which we will have tomorrow. And that clinic, we're actually going to do it at a different location tomorrow. And we're going to have it at North Iredell High School. It's going to start at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it will go until we reach capacity for that clinic. We will do the same thing we've done with our previous clinics. We will give you a number, and once we reach clinic capacity, we'll let anybody else that shows up after that, let them know that we've reached our clinic capacity. We are asking individuals, if they have internet access and the ability to go to our website and print out the registration form and go ahead and fill that out. It just makes time on site a little bit more expeditious, and we're not having to spend a lot of time with those individuals filling out the forms. However, if they do not have the ability to do that, that's okay. We will still have the forms at the site for them to fill out on site. So this is a first come, first serve clinic, and this is a first dose clinic. What we are doing is we are not advertising our second dose clinics. We're contacting those individuals. We track, once you get your first dose, when you fill your registration form up, we put that into our computer system, and it notifies us when you're ready for your second dose, and then we will notify all those individuals that got their first dose at a certain clinic. We'll notify them when that clinic is for them to get their second dose. So that's why you don't see published second doses, because it's a prescribed time period for them to get their second dose, and we're notifying those individuals when that clinic is for those, when it's time for them to get their second dose. So, we're running several vaccination clinics. We're doing first dose clinics that we're advertising. We're doing second dose clinics. So we're boots on the ground on a regular basis and out there administering vaccines as quickly as we can. One of the things we talked about at our 5 o'clock pre-agenda is the partnership we have with our hospitals. And I cannot say enough about that. Commissioner Haupt, when he was on his committee meeting with the NCACC, a lot of counties are struggling, and they don't have such a great partnership with the hospitals in their communities and in their county. We are incredibly fortunate. We have a conference call every week with our 3 hospitals and the health department. We talk about the number of vaccines that we've given. We share information. We talk about clinics and trying to make sure that we're reaching those vulnerable populations, and partnering and working together. That is something that not every county is experiencing. So I just want to make sure that I point that out, that we have a great partnership. Iredell Memorial, they're receiving the Pfizer vaccine, and then the other three, the Health Department, Lake Norman Regional, and Davis, we're all receiving the Moderna. So, and it truly is a collective effort to try to get these vaccines administered as quickly as possible. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Ms. Jones?
I just wanted, as we usually do, is thank the partners and continue to thank the citizens for their patience and grace and all the logistical help you guys have had from Sheriff's Office and all of our county offices and fire departments and highway patrol, all the people that have helped you, administer these vaccinations and get them out to the public.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for that. And that's a good thing to point out. We could not do this without our partners. And it's not just the health department working these clinics. It's EMS, it's emergency management, it's fire departments, it's law enforcement. It is a group effort, and it takes all of them working together to do this. So that's a great point, Commissioner Houtt. The last thing just to report is our retreat. Our fall and winter combination retreat is scheduled for Friday and Saturday, February the 12th and 13th. Friday will be 8 a.m. until 5 p.m., and then Saturday will be 8 until 12 noon.
Well, thank you, Ms. Jones. And we will now proceed to a closed session to discuss a matter of personnel under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, subsection A6. We have Marvin on.
There he is.
All right.
I'm here.
Resume open session, and we do have a motion following our closed session on personnel.
I make a motion that we set the salary for Maureen Purcell at $60,000 a year with a cell phone allowance of $720 per year or a county phone, whichever one she would choose, and a travel allowance of $8,400 per year.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Brown for the Register of Deeds salary for Maureen Purcell. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion we adjourn.
A motion by Commissioner Brown. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned.
You can't say I never.
Aye.
Thank you.
I can't believe you're mean.